And we're almost done. So the next thing we'll do is we'll take the ribbon cable and connect it from the 4-pin connector we soldered onto the front panel. As you'll recall, that's the one that all the touchpad traces go to. And then we go to 5, 6, 7, and 8 on the ground, on the onboard connector, and get it right, because it's 1, 2, 3, 4 goes to 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, why couldn't they have made it go to 1, 2, 3, 4? Well, they probably could have, but I guess they just didn't feel like it that day. So that should be fine, and it'll lay down flat. So we'll set that aside for the moment. Next thing to do is finish up the enclosure and wire the jacks up. And again, gosh, this is, I don't know if the jack is recessed, so I have to get a wrench. Handy dandy jack wrench. If you do any kind of work on amps or other front panel mounted equipment, buy yourself one of these. They're well worth the money. Okay, now we're gonna ground it up, and they say cut the single wire in two and solder to the jacks as shown. Yes, if you remembered where you put that piece of wire, you can probably do that, but since I don't remember that, I'll just grab some wire off the wire rack. And we'll go with some 20 gauge should be fine for this. There's not much amperage flowing through any of this. So I'll cut this in half. Actually, let's see what we got here. I just realized I don't want it like that. I want it going under because the panel sits down on top. Wasn't thinking, gotta think. So let me swing this one around. As always, have my handy dandy test jack to make sure it's not interference. Do a jack check again. Bend this out a little bit. There we go. Now we're perfect. Now we take the other piece of wire that's got this connector on the end, and we're going to wire that up. White wire is ground. Red wire is power. Yellow wire is input. And black wire will be output. plug in. That's why these went to 5, 6, 7, 8. Because this one goes to 1, 2, 3, 4. Audio out tip to PCB pin 1. So black to pin 1. Okay. Let me turn it around so you can see it. So black to pin 1. They don't give you a whole bunch of extra wire on this one. I might have left it a little bit longer, because there's lots of empty space in this box. There we go, and that goes in there like that. And then, ta-da! Oh, not ta-da, because I keep forgetting this. And I'm going to go back through the instructions right now while I'm looking at it. Okay. I forgot to plug the IC in, of course. You might have noticed that. So I'm going to lay it down like that. Pins are a little bit splayed out, so we'll tuck them in. As is normal behavior. And where's the notch? There's the notch. All the legs are good. Okay. Now we're ready to go. Not going to screw the top down right yet, of course, as you can imagine. So I'm going to get a USB power supply and do some other things before we power this up. So I'll be back in a minute or two. Now we're ready to go. I'm going to be plugging it into this amp. This is an amp I built a little while ago out of an old wine box. And I think this will have the power to drive it. If a guitar can drive it, this will be able to drive it. And as you can see on the iPad in the background, I've got the, not the build manual, but the actual use manual up. So we'll be going through that together for the first time. So we're all zoomed in. Let me plug stuff in. First thing to plug in, I'm going to plug the amp in first. Make sure I plug it in the right way. Output. Now the moment of truth. We'll plug the power in. The power switch, I believe, is off up, but I could be wrong. It could light up as soon as I plug this in, or burn up as soon as I plug this in. Nothing yet. Power on, and we've got power light is on. That's good. Okay. So now I've got a couple of things that I'll go through. Shape on each of these. This is a volume knob, by the way. I haven't put the knobs in yet, obviously. You've got volume, filter. Actually, let's go one at a time in the order that they do them. Shape is up and down. Position 1 is almost sawtooth. Position 2 is not quite square. Envelope is attack and release. 1 is long, 2 is short. And that apparently fires it off. Okay, so that's this envelope is firing off, and then it stopped. So that's kind of spacey, good. And tune. And then the touchpad, touch the upper and lower pad at the same time to trigger a voice. Okay, so if we go to, if I turn the envelope down again, so this should fire it off. Yep. So that's how you trigger each pad. So let's do the next one. Not hearing anything there yet. Not getting anything out of that one. Okay, so you've got that. The delay time built in, that's this knob. So let's see. Okay, so that's all the feedback, the speed of the sequencer, amount of feedback for the delay. Let's see what that does. Oh, it sounds pretty clean that way. And then the mix, you can take all that feedback back out. Increase the time back again. Then we've got mod. This will throw random modulations into the frequency of each voice. It's not like a LFO. It's a new derivation value is chosen for each cycle of the waveform. So the mod will change each waveform. Now the filter is a low-pass filter. Okay. Volume, which we know. Scratch is the distortion. So let's turn that back down. Okay. Flip any of the envelope switches twice quickly, and then it goes into drone mode. It goes into drone mode, which means it'll keep ringing even if you're not touching the touchpads. Now the next thing that's interesting is it does have a chromatic mode. So you flip the shape switch twice quickly to enter chromatic mode. So we'll do that. And now when you tune it, I've just brought the second one up. I've just brought the second one into drone mode. And there it goes back to sleep. Now it also has a sequencer mode. Flip the shape switch on voice 3 and then it'll get into step recording. It will record the tuned frequency for each voice per step only if the voice has its end switch in position 2. Okay. So that's one step. And then there's playback mode, which I'm not going to go through all that. Okay, so it works, except for my second. The number 2 pad is not working. Actually, I'm only getting the number 1 pad to work. I mean, we can put them all in drone, I believe. Let me find that. Envelope switches twice. So that'll go into drone mode. And that'll go into drone mode. But I can't get it to trigger. That one will trigger. These won't trigger, and I have to figure that out. But that's the box, and I still have to screw it down. But it works. It does what I expected it to do. It's kind of neat. I'm sure I've got a lot of experimenting to do here. So I'm going to check under the hood and see why these pads aren't triggering. Obviously, because the envelope switches make the drone trigger. The circuitry's all right. I must have done something. There may not be good connection. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But I'm going to pause it right now while I take a look at that. And I just realized you might want to see what I'm doing. So I've taken it back out, and the first thing I've looked, and there's nothing obviously awry here. So what I'm going to do is continuity check first to see if I'm getting a signal from the actual nut to the pin. Oh, let me make sure beep is on. Well, I'm getting that. And I'm getting that. That one we know is good. Well, I'm getting continuity to there. Oh, and the other thing I did, I put the actual knobs on because I figured it wasn't fair to them to show this without the knobs. Now, one thing that I'll say about this, these are not plastic knobs. These are machined metal knobs. It's really, the quality of this board and the panel and all the components is very good. But again, I don't know why I'm not getting, let me see if I'm getting, I mean, it doesn't make any sense that I get it from the bottom and not from the top, but I'll give it a try. Try that pad here, and yep, I've got continuity, and the cable's going in right, I believe. Let me double check, just because you can always make mistakes. 4 to 5. I mean, I think I do have this backwards. I think this is completely my fault. Yep, it's completely my fault. It's backwards. That's because they describe it backwards, which is kind of funny. So if I reverse this connector, and then get the meter cables out of the way, plug the power back in, and we'll do that right too. Audio out tip to pin 1, okay. Ouch! Okay, I've got to take a break and do one other thing. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, let's fire it up. Okay, let's fire it up again with the connector going in the right way. That's good. That's good. And that's good. Okay, good. So it was the connector in the wrong way, and So that's it. It's going to be a good drone. I'm going to use it. I can already picture some things I'm going to use it in. So that's pretty cool. So let me get this panel finally done and grab my Heathkit screwdriver and take the corners, tack the corners of this down. Ah, that's why they have the little... I remember early on I said I wonder what these little corner pieces are for. Those little corner braces are actually where the screws go in. Come on, ribbon cable, go back home. Go back home. So that's funny, because there's a gap all around. So they put those little square pieces of wood in there to get the screws to have a place to get a bite. So one screw. It also means I don't want to screw and unscrew this that much. Though there's actually there's no reason to ever get in the box here unless you wanted to connect a mini USB connector to the little itsy bitsy Raspberry Pi thing and pull data off or change the programming in that, which I guess you could do, but not something I'm likely to do much of. So that's that. Elmyra drone synth. As you can tell, it's obviously not chromatic. We just listen to it and it'll do nice gritty drone sounds in the background. Again, I can think of a lot of things to do with this. It was a good build. Geez, barely 2 nights, so probably maybe 2.5 hours, 3 hours total build time, because I was going slow talking about stuff. And again, nothing too complex in it. It's a good build, and I hope you enjoyed it.